Egypt and the classical world cross-cultural encounters in antiquity. To Isis the Great, Lady of Benevento, privately dedicated Egyptian obelisks in Imperial Rome and the twin obelisks of Benevento Reedited Part 1. The Parthian War. When we think of Egyptian obelisks and ancient Rome, what immediately comes to mind are the large monoliths inscribed with hieroglyphs that the Romans relocated from Egypt to their imperial capital city, monuments that were already ancient at the time of their removal, having originally been erected by Egyptian pharaohs in the 2nd and 1st millennia BC. But besides these ancient monuments, obelisks of two other kinds were erected by Roman emperors. The first type consists of uninscribed obelisks, valued for their mass and devoid of any kind of hieroglyphic inscriptions, with the most renowned example being the Vatican obelisk, now standing at the center of Piazza San Pietro. The other, and probably the most intriguing kind, comprises obelisks with hieroglyphic inscriptions expressly commissioned and dedicated by Roman emperors, sporting texts composed for the occasion in Middle Egyptian, that is, the archaic, classical phase of the Egyptian language, which had fallen out of common use already in the 2nd millennium BC, but was traditionally still employed in Egypt, on account of its historical prestige, for monumental hieroglyphic inscriptions. Two such inscribed Roman obelisks are known today: the Pamphili obelisk, erected by Domitian 81–96 AD, and now in Piazza Navona, with texts celebrating the emperor and the Flavian dynasty, and the Barberini obelisk, carved by order of Hadrian 38–117 AD, and now located in the Monte Pincio Gardens, with inscriptions focused on the life, death, and deification of his companion Antinous. Egyptian hieroglyphs could therefore be used, albeit exceptionally, in official inscriptions ordered by imperial authority, as an alternative to the two mainstream scripts and languages, in which official texts were normally issued across the Roman Empire, Latin and Greek. It is perhaps less well known that the erection of obelisks in the Roman Empire did not occur exclusively at the behest of the emperor. Some, of more reduced size than their royally ordered counterparts, were in fact commissioned by influential private citizens with sufficient financial means. Thus, in the year AD 166, under the joint rule of Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus, a centurion named Titus Aurelius Restitutus dedicated a pair of obelisks in Aswan, the southern frontier of Egypt. Neither of them survives, hence we do not know what these obelisks looked like and whether they were uninscribed or displayed any hieroglyphic texts. Nevertheless, the Latin inscription carved on the base of one of the two, which is all that survives of these monuments, makes it clear that these two obelisks were erected by Restitutus to Jupiter and at least another deity. The text is Lycanos, but this must have been either Juno, as is most likely, or Isis, for the health and victory of our Empress Prosalute et Victoria Imperatorum, seemingly a reference to their recent victory in the Parthian War. Luckily, There are also cases in which privately commissioned obelisks, and not just their pedestals, have survived into our times. In some instances they could be decorated with so-called pseudo-hieroglyphic inscriptions. Examples include a small obelisk now in Florence, which carries an incomprehensible text formed by a patchwork of phrases and individual hieroglyphic signs, in most cases inspired by genuine earlier Egyptian inscriptions, and a fragment of another obelisk, this time in Benevento, in which the carvings intended to represent hieroglyphs are purely fanciful signs, having no actual direct resemblance or connection to the ancient Egyptian script. Less frequently, however, these private obelisks could also be decorated with meaningful hieroglyphic inscriptions, bearing texts expressly commissioned for the occasion, as a non-royal counterpart to imperial commissions, such as the Pamphili and Barbari obelisks cited above. The fragmentary Borgia and Albani obelisks, and the much better preserved twin obelisks of Benevento belong to this remarkable category, and it is on these monuments that the present paper will focus. Before delving into a closer analysis of these monuments, however, a methodological issue needs to be addressed.